Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, beautiful souls. This is Jenny of Soul Pet Connections. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. And I'm delighted to be here with you today. I want to talk about a concept that has been rolling around in my head for a while. Thanks to George Cow, and one of the things that he probably offhandedly said and didn't realize how much of an impact it had at the time. I was working on a course with him recently, and he made the comment about balancing discipline and freedom, as well as structure and intuition. And along with intuition, I'll add adaptability. And it was funny because when he made this comment, I immediately saw like a four-way axis of each of those concepts being at the end of a quadrant or extreme. And in my life, I struggle with one side or the other. I'm either all about freedom and no discipline, or I'll be all about structure and I won't allow for any adaptability or the ability to access intuition in the moment. And so what I realized is that these four concepts exist on either end of the extremes, and it takes part of each of them in order for us to find balance. And the funny thing is, this applies to our animals and our pet relationships too. So it got me thinking about my relationship with my horse, because there have been many times where, out of my own concern for my own safety, I have erred too much on the structure side. And the problem when you do that with an animal is that it gives them no empowerment to think for themselves or problem solve. When you answer every question with a structure or a statement, or shut down even their ability to ask questions, then they don't develop their own skills for problem solving and being adaptable. So in the same way that too much structure in our own life shuts down our own adaptability and our own intuition, it does the same thing in our pet relationships. And the same thing is true of discipline versus freedom. If we have too much discipline, whether that is simply the discipline of how an animal behaves, or even the discipline within our own routine. So the discipline structure thing can be really similar. But if you feed your pet at exactly the same time every day, it doesn't really give you any freedom if you decide you want to stay out late one night or you want to sleep in the morning. Well, we all know how well that goes over with our pets when we try to get some extra Z's on Saturday, right? You know, immediately you're woken up at the exact same time, right? And that's because there's not enough freedom within the routine in order to allow for adaptability and allow for that intuitive concept to work its way through. So I would invite you to notice the areas in your pet relationship where there might be too much discipline or too much structure. And what is that doing for your relationship? There are times and places where we do need more of one or the other. You know, we need more adaptability when we have a schedule change that we can't control. You know, when a family member gets sick, or when we need to take vacation and our pets are going to have their routine disrupted, there are things that are beyond our control. So how can we create a daily routine that allows for some adaptability, that allows for that exploration of other options without creating too much stress? You know, because when things are disrupted too much, our pets can get stressed out about it. And that tends to stress us out about it. So, you know, that's one of the challenges. One of the things I used to tell potential boarders when I ran my boarding barn was that inconsistency was consistent. So the horses in my boarding barn were never fed at the same time every day. If they needed 2 meals a day, that was fine, but there was still also a very large window of time when they might eat, either in the morning or the afternoon. And if they were only fed once a day, their meal could come anytime from 6:30 in the morning until about 9 p.m. at night, and they never knew. And as a result, feeding time at my barn was very calm. It was always relaxed. Because it was like, oh, all right, well, it's time to eat. That's great. Now, obviously, things like that can be challenging depending on your schedule and your routine in your daily life. And if you're working an office job or working around business hours or anything like that, then yeah, it can be hard to create that much freedom with your pets. But as much as you can balance the discipline and the freedom and the structure and the adaptability, that's helpful. And using your intuition to know when the optimal time to do things is helpful. But if you create too much structure, there's no room for those intuitive hits to come through. And there's no room for adaptability. So how can you explore this with your pet? What are some areas where you might have too much structure or too much discipline? And where might you be allowing too much freedom or too much adaptability? I know plenty of pets who have taught their owners exactly how to feed them and when to do so. That's probably too much freedom and too much adaptability. You know, when we cater to every single whim, that means that if something happens and we can't do whatever it is our pet is expecting us to drop everything and do, it can become a problem. It can become an even bigger problem. So how can you explore this concept and always have the goal in mind to find the balance in the middle? And here's the thing, it's going to change. This is going to be a whole nother video in and of itself. Balance is dynamic. It is not static. So how can you take each day and each moment and look for the balance of structure and freedom and discipline and adaptability in any given moment? It will change day to day. There were times where the horses got fed the same time for several days in a row because that was the way the schedule rolled. And in summertime, it was generally really early because I didn't want to be out there at noon. Who wants to be out there in the humidity and heat at noon trying to feed horses? That's gross. So working within that concept, how can you always be aiming to get back to the middle from wherever you are? If you find yourself on one extreme or another, how do you find the balance and hold it lightly so that you've got room for adaptability and you've got room for discipline when you need it? The discipline can create the freedom. Too little discipline equals too much freedom. And that's one end of the extreme. So how can you find that middle ground? So I'd love to know, are you exploring is this bringing up anything for you? Are you noticing anything where you go, oh, that is definitely where we have too much discipline or too much freedom in our relationship? Let me know in the comments. It's very common. You're not alone. So feel free to share snippets of your experiences. Sometimes sharing those experiences can give us the opportunity to recognize, number one, where we can do better and have someone else make a suggestion that might be life-altering. You never know. So drop me a comment and let me know what you think. Again, I'm Jenny of Soul Pet Connections. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. You can find me on the web at soulpetconnections.com and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at the same handle. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.